Good morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Ross Rowe. I'm the municipal administrator for the village of Elk Grove Village, Illinois, which mostly means that I'm the manager of EGTV, Elk Grove Television. And today we are here to talk about how to become invaluable to your city departments. Now, first of all, I'd like to ask how many of you work for a municipality or a county or something like that? Oh, pretty much everybody. Okay. Well, we're going to present some different views today. Three of us here are municipal employees in our respective cities. Howard Kleinstein is the director of communications for the village of Mount Prospect, Illinois, and runs Mount Prospect Digital Communications. Yes. Scott Mieloff, and next to him is the manager of WSCS, I'm sorry, in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, where he runs I should mention, Howard runs a government PEG facility, as do I. Scott's is mixed with both government and public access. And then Paul Zwiker on the end is the executive director of Oregon Media in Oregon, Wisconsin, and he runs a nonprofit that runs the public and government. You educational too? Yeah, you do it all. Yeah. So slightly different perspectives that we'll get into today as to how people deal with making yourself invaluable to city departments, which is a wonderful and very good thing to do. What I'm going to start with is some of the things that I have talked about to other people about being in touch with your city and what they're doing. When I got to Elk Grove Village, I found out that there were a couple of department heads that didn't even know that I existed. They didn't know that the village had a media operation, and so it was my job to educate them about who we were and what we did. I invited city department heads to take a tour of the facility and showed them samples of the kinds of things that we can do for them, and discuss specifically what type of media, whether it be a documentary or in a lot of cases it's training or simply community information about what you can do for them. And this is a big thing, obviously, is to make sure that they actually know who you are and what you can do. Another thing that we started doing was working very closely with our marketing, PR, and communications department. They put out press releases, which they always keep a list of, and so we made sure that we were on that list. So even if we weren't told about some things ahead of time, we would still get the press release, and if we were able to do something, we could do it. We also check in with them regularly to find out about things that are coming up, or even reaching out to them with ideas. For example, our village recently put in a new a new water portal, which people can go online and see what the usage is on the water they're using, and they can tailor things so, they can lower their bills. Excuse me, they can lower their bills if they need to. The finance department released it, and they didn't tell anybody about it. And so we ended up doing a PSA about it, about how, people can sign into the portal and use it, and it made a big difference in how residents understood what was going on with their water bills. It gave them an exact look of exactly what they were doing, and that proved to be a very popular thing with a lot of our constituents. One of the big things that I always have tried to do in every place that I've worked in is getting to know your elected officials. The mayor, when the mayor of Elk Grove walks by me, he says, "Hi, Ross." No matter what size city you're in, it's important that the people who are in charge, commissioners, aldermen, however your city is set up, they should know not only who you are, but what you're doing and how you can help them do what they do. And I always, of course, add the caveat of make sure you check with city staff before working with elected officials. Obviously there can be some prickly things in terms of things like elections, electioneering that you don't want to necessarily get involved with, or your bosses may not necessarily want to get involved with. And so it's important that you keep your administrators in the loop of whether you're going to, what you're going to do with a particular elected official. Okay? Usually the chain of command in Elk Grove works like this. If the elected official wants to do something with us, he goes to administration first and asks about it, and then administration comes to us. And that way, of course, there's no misunderstandings. If they come to us directly, then we say, you've got to talk to the manager, or you've got to talk to my immediate supervisor first to make sure that there isn't any sort of conflict, and you're not going to end up doing something that's not in step with what your government is doing. One of the other things I do to give the village staff ownership in a way of the videos I do is to not just take information from them, but involve them directly in the production of a video. I like to have actual city department members act as on-air staff who can explain better about how the water system works than a water engineer, who can explain better about snow plowing than the guy who's driving the snow plow. It gives them a stake in what you're doing, and then at the same time, your audience will know that someone who is trained and cares about what they're doing are providing these services for you. And so it's very important. It also makes things a little easier for you when working with departments. You can, if they know that they're going to have a stake in what you're doing, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to work with them. Because as I'm sure our panelists will attest to, there's a lot of times when you want to produce a video and the department head or the person you want to do it with says, "Oh, I don't have time to do that. Come back to me in a month. Come back to me in 2 months. Come back to me in 6 months." But it's very important that I'm sorry. It's very important that communication happen and is maintained, because that will make things easier for you. It will make things easier for them. So those are the things that I do to try to make myself more valuable to my city departments. Now our panel is going to talk about some of the things they've done and hopefully give you some examples of those things. So I'm going to turn it over to Howard, and we're going to make a quick switch here.
Is it there?
There you go.
Whoops.
It's gonna want me to log back in.
Uh-oh. Is your power down?
Technology. What are you going to do? Okay.
There we go. All right, good morning. I'm Howard Kleinstein. I'm the Director of Communications for the Village of Mount Prospect. But before I was the Director of Communications, I was the Cable Production Coordinator for about 18 years. And I realized as time was going on that communications and the needs for communications were ever changing. And so we went from Mount Prospect Television, and we became Mount Prospect Digital Communications, because the PEG channel isn't the only thing we do anymore. So who here puts out all their puts their programming on YouTube? Okay, most of you. How many put it on Facebook? Okay. Instagram? Yeah, okay. In the ever-changing world of communications, people are watching our content in all different ways. And so we need to reflect that. And so what we did is we kind of cut back on the long-form programming to concentrate on short-form programming that is more attuned to these formats. Now, as Director of Communications, I get to sit in the room with the leadership team every week. I get to hear what's going on. But the directors are very busy people, and they don't always want to be bothered to come up with ideas for videos. We're constantly trying to push out content for our residents. And so what I do is I go to our website, and every department has FAQ pages. And I go through the FAQ pages to kind of glean what we could make a video on. This is the FAQ page for our building department. And we did a video about building permits. And we do a regular series of FAQs. It might be about water billing. It might be about our human services department. Actually, we did 7 FAQs about all the different things that our human services department does. And that keeps us working on videos all the time and not having to rely on the department heads who, you say, hey, you got any ideas for a video? No. That's a department head. And you can't just wait for them. You got to put out the content, And what I do is I go through the FAQs, I listen at leadership team meetings to see what new things are cropping up, and it's really good if you can be in the room where it happens. So I also decided to develop a 5-minute bi-monthly news program called Mount Prospect Update. And that also pushes to the public not only events, but different things that is going on in our government, different programs that are being pushed, new innovations and things like that. And for those of you who think it might be a lot of work, it's really not that much work. It takes 1 hour to write the script, an hour to set up and shoot it, and about 4 hours to edit it. So we do that every other week, and it's done consistently on a Friday, and people know to look for it, and it gets a lot of looks. So that's pretty much, those are the things that I do to get the people that I work with, the heads of departments, invested in our programming. Thank you.
All right. Scott, would you? Oh, please don't, by the way, please don't hesitate. If you have a question along the way, please stick your hand up and we'll try to answer it for you.
Good morning, Scott Maliff, WSCS in Sheboygan. As Ross mentioned, is a sort of commingled public and government on the same channel. When I started with the channel in 2000, it was mostly public access. I mean, the station staff and we're municipal employees. Would help the nonprofits and so forth with the production of their monthly series shows and a lot of studio productions, and we would cover the monthly county board meeting and the 2 common council meetings each month. That was sort of the extent of our government programming. Fast forward to March of 2020, this international event happened that reshaped the way everybody does everything. For us, it in hindsight was really sort of a blessing. I'll put blessing in air quotes, but there were no studio shows. There were no community events, so all of our public programming ceased immediately, and it was all meetings all the time. The decision was made through our management team under the advice of the city attorney, who I still need to give a big hug to, made the decision that our common council chamber in our newly renovated city hall, so it has new equipment and was able to broadcast live PTZ cameras, that was going to be the physical advertised meeting location for every meeting. Common council, standing committees, boards, commissions, task force, whatever, they were all in that room, even though a lot of it was virtual and we had to work that component into it. But we televised and live streamed everything. That was how we kept government open and accessible and so forth, which meant my new office was the media desk in City Hall, which, again, because of the renovation, was now out where everybody who walked into the room could see me. Media console and sort of reception, I think, because everybody files by as they're walking up to the dais to take their seat. So that the other part of that blessing is that it gave me a lot of face time with the elected officials or the appointed board members or whatever. And, you know, we all know each other now by first name, and it's, you know, hey, how you doing? And when the meeting's over and they're filing out and I'm waiting for the recording to export, you know, thanks, Scott, thank you. And, you know, a lot of that going, so beyond just ego strokes for me, it has helped us prove our essentialness to the powers that be, right? The decision makers. And, you know, our budget was continually shrinking for a number of years, and the last couple we've been able to hold steady and not have to continue to cut and trim. And, you know, everybody's always under efficiency, you know, constraints, right? But and some of the previous city administrator certainly had an attitude that the city should not be in the television business. And pandemic hit, he decided it was time to retire. And you know, so there's a change in leadership there, and right now I feel like we're in a really good position in terms of that relationship with our city. Could I be doing more? Like Ross and Howard were talking about, with kind of hounding the department heads, and, you know, how can we help you get your message out? Absolutely, but, you know, I'm one guy. They're busy people too, so that's an area that we have some room for growth and advancement, but I think we're all in that situation. Yeah. So, and one of the quarterly metrics that I'm supposed to report on is the number of PSAs produced, and it's a target we don't always meet, but could. And like I said, I need to be more proactive in reaching out to our department heads. And I liked Howard's idea of, or to go to them with an idea. Hey, how about we work together on, you know, snow plowing safety, or not? Hey, do you have anything we could work on together? You know, to kind of present something to them. You know, pitch them an idea that's got some form to it, and not just ask an open-ended question. And with that, I'll ask, are there any questions?
I wouldn't say I hound people.
Oh, yeah. Good shit. You want me to drive?
I can drive. I can stay up there.
I'm just very active about doing it.
I try to not take no for an answer.
Nobody wants to see my email.
Sometimes you have to push it.
Huh?
If
This
you
is
leave it up to them,
that's not you.
They're gonna take you out and say no, thank you. I will say a lot of our videos, our FAQ videos, are infographic videos, which means they don't have to be on air, which scares the heck out of them.
Not blinding at all.
They don't have to.
Do not look
be
directly
involved
at the
physically.
PowerPoint.
You have to release
Is it arrow down
some
or
of the
advance?
tension down
Arrow over.
without doing the video.
Arrow over.
Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
Not take no for an answer, because I tend to be hypersensitive, because you know, we're all kind of heads of our departments for the most part, for some of us, and so I'm like, I got a bunch of work to do too. I'm not going to ask them to do more work for me. That's not going to look good, and they're not going to want to do that. So how do you do that? That tends to get a yes.
Well, I could threaten them with going to the village manager, but usually I couch it in a way that relieves their responsibility to, you know, I'd say, this is how we're gonna do it. All I need from you is X, Y, and Z. Most of them have some subordinate that can do X, Y, and Z, and so they just hand it off, and that's how we're able to not take no for an answer when we have something that, and usually they want it. I don't run into it very often where they're like, oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Paul?
Hi, I'm Paul Zwicker with OCA Media in Oregon. We're a community of 10,000, a village. We're unique in that OCA is a nonprofit organization providing a service for our community. We have an open agreement. Truly, it's not in writing with our village that we're going to be there for them, providing their meeting coverage, their event coverage, whatever else there is. And the same goes. The school's a little different because the school district, we have basically we're releasing an old classroom in the old part of the high school from them, which is very handy. And that's our form of payment back to them, is that we can do whatever we are able to do within our means for the school district. In this case, last year it meant 166 live streams. We did 266 live streams last year for our community. But that said, I'm taking this a little bit outside of the department, as we have a different relationship we have with our community and our municipality. We go every year to put forth a budget proposal, and they say yay or nay. But we back it up with YouTube numbers. We back it up with statistics that we can say, hey, we did this many events for our community last year, and we that's how we are providing our services and trying to make ourselves invaluable, because we don't have to be on their are we not? We don't have to be on their payroll. I mean, we don't have to get money from them. They can fill potholes for all they care, I guess. But we're trying to make ourselves as invaluable. And what you've heard before is true, that relationships are huge. When I first started 7 years ago, I came in and they had no audio on their school board meetings out to Charter, because Charter didn't want to come out and fix it. So I came in and kind of forced their hand, and finally they had audio for their school board meetings. What a surprise. Now if we have a school board meeting miss, like we did recently, failed live stream, not sure if it was a HDMI handshake or what, but it didn't go out, we heard about it. We got it up the next day, but they are expecting what we can provide on a regular basis, and that's what we really need to strive to do, is be consistent, have quality, and move forward as best we can, and continuing to provide things for them. Let me scoot ahead. So in our instance, we do the general things that everybody else does. We do a lot of live streams, like I said, 166 streams last year for a staff of four part-time employees was a lot. We also hire high school students to shoot a lot of these events, but it's still a challenge for us to continue this level of service, as people are now coming to expect us to do. Once you start delivering, they want it, and if you're not there, they let you know about it. Let's see, what else did I scatter on this little thing I slapped together? We do some original programming, which people are responding to. Last night, you might have seen Frank Caruso receive an award for his program, which is Oregon Life, which is a story format, a long 5 to 10 to 15-minute piece on an individual, like the canoeist couple who loved to paddle around town. Another one of our award winners last night was Josiah Wampler, who's our programming manager and scheduler and student high school staff corraller and everything. He also does this, he loves film reviews. He asked a year ago, can I do a film review show? I said, yeah. So he sits down and does that. Obviously, like many, we are responsive and provide houses of worship with their content, and that's important, I think. It also gives us something to put out there. We we really use our social media heavily, and Frank Caruso is our social media director and has spoken here at this conference a couple years in a row on what he does, because he is kicking it for us. If you compare our Facebook page to other comparables, we have X amount more hits, X amount more views, whatever. To have our YouTube channel, which is being driven, we drive our Facebook posts every day, drive to whatever live stream we're doing, and or what's coming up this weekend that Frank did a profile on somebody. That type of stuff, we believe on social media will make our community really know about us and continue to make ourselves known and be valuable. Doing all these things and becoming trustworthy, and doing events like election official forums, you know, those candidate forums are important too. So we're doing everything we can, as I'm sure you all are. I'm just seeing what I've got up here coming. We are able to, this graph is just a quick capture of our current YouTube stat. We're at 2,572 viewers in a community of 10,000. We're growing at a rate, we've got 670 new subscribers last year, and about 60 are being added every month, which is huge. I mean, we were, 1,500 not that long ago, and I'm like, we'll hit 2,000. All of a sudden, people are expecting this. They're expecting that when we don't get a live stream out, we know about it, which is good, because we didn't used to know that anything. We didn't even know if we're off the air on Charter. But that said, quickly moving on, the personal connections, as people have mentioned already, is huge. I wasn't in town. I mean, I live in town, but I was not part of the community in that I knew all the officials. I knew the directors of each department head. Well, now I do, because although we don't produce individual department head videos, we do make sure that they know we're out there. And our social media posts continue to provide that as an avenue of, our Facebook page is probably the one that people go to in town, more so than the Chamber of Commerce, because we provide their information, more so than the Village Municipal's webpage, because we take their data too. And we're trying to make ourselves the place to go to, which hopefully will pay off, and we'll continue to continue down the path, because we still are, well, as we look now, we're going to be a nonprofit as long as I can foresee. I don't see a village bringing us in as government employees getting all the benefits that we do. Move on quick, sorry. I don't have too many more here, I don't think. The meet and greets, the ribbon cuttings, the chamber events, the community events, all these things, if you're showing your face at them and you're showing up with cameras and posting social media, people know you're there. It's important, and it's also important to have an elevator speech ready for those who don't know who you are, what you're doing. Why is there a camera here at this 4th grade drum ensemble? We have the music teachers tell people, put away your phones. OCA Media's here. If it isn't live, and tonight's maybe not live, it'll be posted soon on OCA Media. Here's the link. Just go to their webpage, which is great, because it drives a new generation of parents who are going to watch their kids' musical careers get videotaped, and high school, all the way up to high school. It's pretty cool, I think, that we're out there doing this for them. I think that's my last one. Yes, thank God. White on white's bad choice for slideshows, by the way. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Just going back to your previous slide. So for events and concerts, whatever it might be, are you just inviting yourself and setting up, or how are you going about doing that? Because we'll get people who just assume we're going to show up, and then we go, well, we weren't told about it, or we weren't asked to do
Right.
it. And then that's kind of where you start diminishing that relationship.
Yeah. So Josiah's our event coordinator. I don't oversee what we cover necessarily. He knows coming in, he knew and learned coming in that we do all the library book talks or presentations on plants that they have, or, on whatever. We started doing those all live during COVID, and we continued them. Although it's our viewership, get 5-10 people watching. I don't know if it's worth it. But as far as people expecting or us contacting them, they all know and let us know. Well, we also see them on the community calendar. Oh, there's a library event coming up. We'll get a notification from, we're on, the mailing list for the village. Yep, we got a planning commission meeting. Here's the agenda. And since COVID, we've been streaming all these little meetings, planning, parks, that type of thing. Before it, we only did our village trustees meetings, bi-monthly. I think people are expecting us to do it. I didn't get a call from the after-school club daycare that had their little rainbow concert, and we didn't cover it. I haven't yet heard that was this Wednesday because we just sort of missed it on the calendar. Usually they expect us to cover it, but they should poke us. They shouldn't expect us there, and they shouldn't yell at us if we're not doing it for them. But we're in the high school system. Our board of directors, it consists of the CFO for the school district, a village trustee who's very much pro us. One of the bank executives is on our board. Couple village residents and people. It's a mix, but I think it's important to have those reps on our board of directors advocating for what we should be covering, where our direction should be going, and how we should continue to make ourselves well known to the community and important to the community. So if we're not important, why are we there? We got to be providing a service. Otherwise, why am I spinning my wheels, right? Or all of us. Anything else for anybody? Yes. Guy in the back from way up north with the hat.
It's almost like you know me or something. I've got two questions for all of the panel, if I could. One is in this area, and I apologize because I don't know kind of the media landscape in Elbrook Village and Mount Prospect, but like in Dane County, of course, there's kind of a media saturation where between commercial media, local media, does that have an effect on the types of things that you cover and the length that you cover them? And kind of the follow-up is, we do a lot of studio interview shows, and I know that you were talking about kind of the shorter form is becoming more encouraged, I think, at this point. But last week alone, we did 15 studio shows and events in 1 week. But do you think those 28-minute studio shows are becoming kind of a dinosaur in this day and age?
Without hurting your feelings.
He can't hear you with the.
It won't hurt my feelings if it costs me less work.
How does this go? This goes a little ways.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of looking at how long people watch videos. And even on a 3-minute video, you'll get almost a 50% drop off at a minute. And it's just the way that people are taking in their media. Yes, you'll have 50% who will watch it to the end. Your 28-minute show, you have somebody invested, they'll watch it. But you're going to get a lot of people who are like, I'm not going to watch that. But it depends on how you're delivering it, too. I mean, we do long form as well. I just recently started a podcast, which is between 40 minutes and an hour. I know that those people are going to listen to it because that's the nature of the podcast. But for videos, if we want to get our message out there, we got to make it fast, we got to make it flashy, we got to make it something that people want to watch, because people, everybody is an expert in television. You start watching TV when you're 6 months old, and people know what good TV is, and they especially know what bad TV is. So you gotta compete with all the good TV to get people to watch it, and the better that you can make it and create, the more eyeballs you'll get on your media.
I only do one studio show, and that is a show called In the Grove, which is a 30-minute, I call it a catch-all. It's the show that I put people and subjects on that I can't or haven't covered or need to do something quickly with, to get their information out. I'm a big proponent of doing stuff on location, and we've embraced the infographics thing now too. That's something that we really, again, if people are invested in it, they're going to watch it. But most of them will. I think last year we just doing our stats on our video on demand, and we had several thousand hits, but the average viewing time was less than a minute and a half. And that includes, the graduation, that includes the sports we do, that includes the meetings. So, we've had to try to adjust based on those types of things. And remember that, we're in Howard and I's situation, we're in the third largest broadcast market in the country. So, tailoring our productions to local events is not a problem. It really isn't, because I'm not worried about, I'm not sending reporters to Ukraine. I'm letting people know what's going on in their own neighborhoods, and so we adjust our output based on that. Yeah. Did you want to? I don't know. No, this is not. You got to come over.
Yeah, just the two things. For Sheboygan, in terms of the media market, I'll answer that question. We're almost smack dab in the middle between Milwaukee and Green Bay's, broadcast, TV broadcast. So, like I said, we're right on the fringe, and in my experience, I'll couch it that way. The news stations from those two locations really only show up in Sheboygan when something bad happens. And there's a whole lot of good stuff going on most of the time. Yeah, sure, there's, bad things happen. It's just a fact of life. But, and the local newspaper is, a fraction of what it used to be. And all that. So, again, it sort of points to the need for us in a strong, vibrant presence. I talked about all the meeting coverage. Well, that's gavel to gavel, unedited. It might be a 3 to 5 minute meeting if they're in a hurry, and it might be a 3-hour slogfest. They are what they are, and we're talking about the hits and the viewership and stuff online. I think we also need to keep in mind that we're trying to get the message out there to viewers where they are and how they watch. And, some are looking on their phone or their tablet. There's still a sizable, although it's harder to quantify because we don't have the analytics, of people that are watching on cable TV. You know, they want to sit down on their big flat screen in their living room and just watch. You know, the look-in stuff on the phone, on YouTube or social media or whatever, yeah, those tend to be shorter views. Occasionally you'll have somebody that watches to the end, and but I don't think that means we, you know, maybe if you have the time and the staff to customize and, all right, well, here's the short format to put on social media and here's the long format for cable, great. I'm just sort of, here's what we have, and I'm shoving it out there, and people can look at what they choose to look at.
Okay, well, we've gone a little over here, but I would like to thank you all. I'd like to thank our panelists for their insights, and I want to remind you that on your table there is a QR code that you can take a picture of and comment on not only on our session here, but the entire conference. So thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.